and play on 2nd and 10. That's his youth right there.
Tagovailoa trying to make up for it. Fires to the end zone. Touchdown! Alabama wins!
So today I'll be continuing with my college football schedule preview and point spread prediction videos with the Indiana Hoosiers. So overall, I think this is an easy schedule. All of Indiana's conference opponents will be different than last year, except for their in-state. I guess you would still call it rival Purdue. So this is always and it still is one of the least interesting rivalries in college football because it used to be that it was just two terrible teams, and now it's because one of those teams is elite and the other one is still terrible. I think Purdue is going to be picked to finish last in the Big Ten again by Vegas and by all of the magazines when they come out, and they're almost certain to finish in the bottom three of the conference in 2026. This is, I'd say, a 100% sure win for Indiana. So last year, Indiana played Illinois, Iowa, Oregon, Michigan State, UCLA, Maryland, Penn State, and Wisconsin. And it is harder this year because they play both Ohio State and Michigan instead of just Oregon. But I would say 12-0 is a possibility with this schedule. And as well coached as this team is going to be, I'd say 10-2 and a trip back to the college football playoff is a lock. Now, you may be thinking, what if they lose to both Ohio State and Michigan and go 10-2? But they won't get left out of the college football playoff even if that happens because they just won the whole thing last year. And I know you may be thinking, well, that's a much different team than this year's team. But because they still have Signetti, who's proven he can get it done, they won't get left out unless maybe if they were to get blown out by Ohio State and Michigan, which there's almost no chance of that happening. So the schedule starts out very nicely. The non-conference schedule is about as easy as it gets because North Texas and Western Kentucky are both a good group of five teams, but they're not going to be of any challenge to Indiana. And they get to play some FCS team called Howard. And I don't get why Indiana is still too scared to schedule a Power Four non-conference opponent. Now, before Signetti came there, this would have made a lot of sense because they would have wanted to increase their chances of getting to a bowl game. But I'm not saying they should have scheduled a opponent like Georgia, but they should have scheduled a respectable Power Four opponent. And the conference schedule starts out nicely, getting to play Northwestern. That'll be like a 99% sure win for Indiana because even if Northwestern is able to pull out one of their fluke good years, their talent level is right there at the bottom of the Big Ten with Purdue. And then to have to play back-to-back road games, Indiana got it pretty good. Because no one, especially not Indiana, is scared of going to Rutgers. And they're another one of those teams like Northwestern that has almost no talent. That's like a 99% sure win for Indiana also. Now, Nebraska is probably going to be a better team than Rutgers will be, and that can be a pretty tough place to play. They always sell out no matter how bad they are. but I never was completely on the Matt Rule hype, and now I'm completely off of it until he actually puts out a good team on the field. I'd say this is like a 99% sure win for Indiana. Ohio State and then on the road at Michigan is by far the toughest two-game stretch on this schedule and has to be one of the toughest two-game stretches in the country. I'd say 2-0 in these is unlikely, but I do think Indiana will win one of these games. And while getting the bye week in before USC is not bad, it would have been much better to have had it in between Ohio State and Michigan. But USC is going to be a preseason top 20, maybe even top 15 team. But it is good that Indiana got the Ohio State game at home, mainly because they don't have to go to Ohio State. Because while it is always better to play your games at home, Indiana is still not what you would consider to be one of the toughest environments in college football. It's more about how good they are as a team because their stadium is still one of the smaller ones in the Big Ten. And if you're a good bit better than Indiana, unless you, meaning their opponent, has a fluke performance, you're going to beat them. But good news for Indiana is I don't know of anyone right now in that's even a tiny bit better than they are, and that includes Ohio State. But Michigan has only lost at home 3 times in the last 5 years, and they have the largest stadium in college football with a capacity of over 107,000. And from watching Michigan home games on the TV, especially in the big games like this one is going to be, it sounds so loud that if I went to a Michigan home game, I'd probably need earplugs. But then they do get a break against Minnesota before what's going to be another pretty tough two-game stretch against USC and on the road at Washington. Now, Minnesota is one of college football's most consistently solid teams. Now, they're never great because they're another one of those teams that doesn't have hardly any talent, but they are well coached, so they do usually win 8 games, but they never beat the elite teams, which Indiana has become. So I'd say that's like a 99% sure win for Indiana. But Washington is a team that I think does have a chance to have a special season this year, and that is a pretty tough place to play. But I would think Indiana could handle that two-game stretch. Was a minus at the beginning of the spread. That means that Indiana is the favorite, and I have Indiana being the favorite in all of their games. So a 20 plus spread is a blowout, and there's 6 of those. North Texas, Howard, Western Kentucky, Northwestern, Rutgers, and Purdue. A 10 to 19 spread is medium, and there's 4 of those. Nebraska, Minnesota, USC, and Washington. 1 to 5 is almost a complete toss up, and there's 2 of those, Ohio State and Michigan. So if I had to guess the exact spreads of these games right now, I'd say Indiana would be about a 40-point favorite over North Texas, and about a 50-point favorite over Howard, probably even more than that. And I'd say about a 40-point favorite over Western Kentucky. I'd say Indiana would be about a 24-point favorite over Northwestern and about a 24-point favorite over Rutgers. And I'd say Indiana would be about a 30-point favorite over Purdue. And Nebraska, I'd say Indiana would be about a 14-point favorite over, and I'd say Indiana'd be about a 17-point favorite over Minnesota, but not because I think Nebraska is going to be better than Minnesota. It's because Minnesota's at home and Nebraska's on the road. And I'd say Indiana'd be about a 14-point favorite over USC and about a 14-point favorite over Washington. So Ohio State, because it's at home, I'll say Indiana will be a 3-point favorite in it, but this is the one game where I think there's a good chance that Indiana could be the underdog and when it comes time for it to be played. And I wouldn't even be surprised if it's a complete toss up. And if it was a road game, I'd have it the other way around. And Michigan, I do think there's a little bit of a chance that Indiana could be the underdog in this one when it comes time for it to be played. I'll say Indiana will be a 5-point favorite in it, but I actually think there's a good chance that Indiana could be about a touchdown favorite in it. So that'll be it with this video. Please subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll be back soon.